Hello everyone, today we're working on Rivarossi motors. This little guy here, it's seen better day and the motor is completely shot. So I'm gonna see if I can get this going today. That would be really cool. It happens sometimes, the wheels bind up and then the motors heat up and then that's it. They're toast. So these are really easy to get at. There's just two little screws in the back, which is kind of neat. You don't have to remove all the wheels and the side rods. You can just get to it right away. If they made replacement motors for these, they would probably sell a lot, which they don't. I mean, this thing is old, probably 40 years old, but the motors come out easy. So it just pulls out like that. So this one's completely shot. So I'm gonna take it apart. This little coupler here that just pulls out, that's no biggie. And don't pull on this unless you remove that thing first. So the whole insides are gonna come together. If you pull on it too hard, the commutator here can get unhooked and that would be bad. So in order to pull the motor out from the housing here, you do have to remove the two brushes. So that is a bit tricky. You could do it with your screwdriver maybe, but you basically need your X-Acto blade because there's not much room to get in there. You just have to loosen it a little bit and then it will pull out. Now they have a little brush in there and a little spring. And the little spring, if you lose it, it's going to be very, very hard to find it. So I'm going to work on this off camera a little bit. I looked at it with a lot of magnification and even the housing is pretty dirty. So these, you want to use gravity as your friend. So that will take the brush and the spring, keep everything in there for you. So that was the top one. And then we'll do the bottom one. The bottom one, this is kind of a useful little spacer here, so I don't want to lose that. There should be a little connection for the light, which I lost somewhere. Same thing with the bottom one. This is attached to the tender. And they bring electricity for the tender. So this bottom one, we'll just set it down here for now. And now I can get to my rotor. And you can see the commutator is in a really, really bad shape. So this doesn't run. So I was able to find something online, a very similar motor that I can use for parts. So I have to do the same thing to this motor. Is basically remove the brushes and take this plastic part out so I can use the rotor in there. Let's see if that's gonna work. So it's pretty much the same thing. You have the little brush and the little spring down there. Well, this is brand new, so it feels great. That little spring's got a lot of tension, so it's pretty much the same thing. Maybe, if I'm lucky, these brush holders will work with the Rivarossi. We'll find out soon enough. Now to get this plastic part out, you just have to pry on these tabs on each side. That shouldn't be too hard. My screwdriver can't get in there though because it's small. I want to see if I can get this pried out without breaking my good screwdriver, because they're on there good. I've got an intermediate size screwdriver here that should be better. I'm not going to be reusing that part of it, so I don't really have to be nice to it. So I'm not really using that. But I'm still going to keep it just for fun. But I don't think it's going to be any good for me. It does have magnets, you know, you'd never know, that could be useful. Some really good little magnets down there. Yeah, I might keep this around for a little bit. And then you can see, very similar to the original Rivarossi one. So that should work. The only thing I might need to change is the bearing is a little tight. So because the bearing's a little tight, I might have to drill it out. That is going to be my next step. You can see it's a 3-pole, but it's skew wound, so that helps a little bit with low speed power. I got the old calipers out because I want to see if I can get a drill bit that's very close to it. So this is a 1/16 drill. It's too big, and on my micro drills, the number 61, it's too small, so I'm in a little bit of a predicament here. I'm not too sure how to handle that. I think I am going to open up the sides with the 1/16, and then I'll get the probably get the shaft from the motor to do the rest. But I'll help them out with this. You don't want to go too big, because if you go too big, it will just float in there, and that won't help you. It'll make too much noise. And if it's too small, well, it'll bind. So I'm using the 1/16 just to open it up a bit on the sides. I don't go through. Then we'll see what that's like. So it's still very tight in there, but over time, probably with some good lubrication, probably it'll make itself, it'll adjust itself. Actually, it's already starting to feel much better. So I think this is the good method to do it, but we'll find out pretty soon when I get it going. The drill bit is very hard next to that little bushing, and also the shaft from the new rotor, it's also steel, so that is very hard compared to the bushing. So I'm just going to work it like that until it opens up. It's every time I do it, I feel it opening up, so it doesn't take much effort to get that done. So that is looking good to work. Just going to reinstall all this stuff together. Actually, the rear one came out real good. And then we'll put this little top one in too. Right back to where it was. Seems the whole assembly is just a little bit too long. I got two little washers there on each side. I'm gonna remove them just to see if that helps. It's about the only place that I could help maybe get a little bit more is reinstalling the bearing. Instead of installing it from this side, I'm gonna reinstall it from this side. That gives me another 1/10 of an inch. There. Now that will all close together. Super good. Then I'll see I believe that I have to use the old brush holders, but I can use the new springs and the new brushes. Let's see how that goes. There's the old spring. Then let's check out this new spring. Actually, they look very similar. I have to be careful with them because they have a tendency to fly off. So may as well put the new spring since I have it there. So I'm using the old holders, but with new springs. It really wants to go in there, it just doesn't know it yet. I'm going to see under magnification what my problem is. The new spring, it was just a little bit too wide, so it won't fit in there. So be very careful as you take them apart. And then let's see about the new brush, if that's going to be helpful. Same thing, the new brush just a little bit too wide. I'm keeping those because they come in handy. So I'm still going to use the old one. That is going to be good. And I'll insert it there where it should go. And I'll put the other little insulator guy. That's part of the way this engine works. And then I'll do the same thing for the top one. Just to reinstall it the way it was actually. Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay. Let's see if some electricity is going to help that out. Well, it's going to work. I still have to do a lot of adjustments. But I'm off to a good start. I'm having a hard time holding the cover straight. I'm using the frame to do it, but that helps quite a bit. So that also looks real good so far. I'm going to put the screws on so I can have them where they're barely touching. I'm going to see if I can have the wheels turning now. I'm also going to take my Dremel with the cut-off wheel and I'm going to cut off the extra shaft there. I would not be ready to say that it's a great victory, but I would say it's a good start. I still have to do a lot of fooling around and adjusting before it's 100%, but that's like a good start. Okay, I made some little shims here on the side that allows me to keep the motor steady. So I did some wheel cleaning also. So I think we're about ready to try it on the track. Now this really is a parts engine. It doesn't have any side rods on this side. But it's still gonna run, which is what I'm interested in. Even though it's not much to look at, It's quite a thing to see it come back to life like that from a basket case. So all right, let's go see what happens on the track. Such a joy to see them come back to life. This one was a basket case, so my expectations were low. I've got another one that I want to work on that is a kind of a nice engine, but it needs a motor. This one is in mostly really good shape, but again, the motor's toast, so I want to do an extra good job on this. That should be my best running engine when I'm done. So I'm gonna take all my time to do a good job on this. So we'll do the same thing. I'll remove the motor first. Actually, because I gotta play with the contacts a lot on this. So I'm gonna be careful with my little light connection. I'm gonna mostly take it out, and then we'll get back to it in the end. And then I can slide that out. Yeah, don't pull too hard on the black plastic part. Although this motor is toast already, it's just a good practice, you know. And I think I will remove that wire right away. That's just a spacer. But I am gonna remove the two brush holders. It's actually not too bad. Not too bad. I'm gonna remove that electrical connection because it's gonna get in the way. But that brush seems to be good, so I'm gonna reuse that. Let's check out the other brush. Let's see how hard or how easy it's gonna be to remove it. Seems to be cooperating. Oh yeah, super easy, barely an inconvenience. And it too, the brush seems to be good. And then I can pull on the plastic part. And then you may or may not be able to see it, but that is toast. So I'm gonna bring in the good one from my donor. Although I do take a minute to inspect everything, make sure that everything's clean. So good so far. Then I'm gonna take this one too apart. I won't be reusing the brushes because they're just a little bit too big. This is very tight in there. It is not easy to remove that. So I got the spring in there and I got the brush. My brush is stuck in there. It's okay, it will come down one of these days. I have to do the same thing with that one. It's small increments, but it's coming. Well, there's that other brush. Oh, I broke it. That's not good. See, I broke it into two. That can't be good. Anyway, I've got a spare brush that I can use, and then I just gotta move these two pins. Getting this far is not too hard. It's putting the new rotor in and making sure everything's adjusted. That's a little bit tricky, but I did it before, so I should be able to do it again. So once these tabs are loose, it's going to come right apart, just like so. You just got to be sure and have the brushes out. So I think it's going to be like the other one, where I have to enlarge the bearings a little bit. Who knows? This one, I guess it was worn more. The bearing fits right in. Well, that was easy. And let's try the back one. I guess it was worn just a little bit more. Let's try that back one. That back one is tight a little bit. I came up with a trick to help that. Just give me a second to set it up. So here's what we're going to do. This is the end of the old shaft that I had yesterday. So I'm going to lubricate it and slip it in here with my Dremel. And then I'll rev it. So that should wear out the bearing very quickly. It should make a nice sized, should adjust the size of the bearing perfectly. And that's all it takes. Actually, that was a good idea. That worked great. Now it's very loose. And then this one was already loose when I tried it. My motor is still too long. I can't quite close it though. Let's put the brushes in and see how it runs. I'm still far from being done, but it's still a good step. The problem is I have to line up the front and the back, and they're just loose like that. But it's gonna run, and I have to do some tweaking. So these two little spacers, two little washers at the end, these can go. I'm not gonna need that. That gives me not a lot, but gives me a little bit. And on the commutator side, it's actually pretty tight in there. I don't know if I'm going to do a lot of changes. I looked at it carefully. I think I can remove those two spacers and still get away with it. I have to do it under magnification or else I can't see. But I'm keeping them for the future. You never know. I'm going to reassemble everything and I'll show you where I'm at. Now I still can't close it 100%, but what I've decided to do, because I still need to hold it steady, So what I decided to do was to make some spacers out of my department store credit cards or gift cards. I'm also gonna cut the little ends of the shaft with my Dremel. So these are what my little spacers look like. They're gonna come in and sit here, allowing me to maintain some space and to clamp it down in the frame. That way I can tighten my screws a little bit to hold it down and not put too much pressure on the ends. So that's shaping up. I'm gonna put it in the frame now. Oh, and before I do though, I do want to put the brushes back on, right? Without the brushes, I'm not gonna go far. And I'm gonna put my little contact wire for the light. You know, I suppose I should switch them out to LEDs now. That would only make sense. There, I'm still using gravity as my friend. That looks real good. Check it out, it wants to work. I still have to do some more tweaking, but it's looking encouraging. I ended up putting 3 shims on each side, and the screws are pretty loose, but I think I got it. That seems to run pretty good. At this point, I think I'm going to want to go try it on the track. Well, I won't sugarcoat it. I had to do a lot of fine tuning, but finally I got it to run like I wanted to. So I'm pretty happy with that. If you'd like to buy some of these motors for yourself, I'm gonna put the link to my website in the description, and they'll be available on my website. If it ever says out of stock, it takes about 2 weeks to restock, so check back often. And also I revise some of my pricing, so I'll invite you to come and check it out. It's watchtrainsnow.com. And now it's time to rot some trains. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I certainly had fun making it for you. See you soon. Here's an extra feature for you guys, a shot of a nice Via Rail train for you guys that stuck with me till the end.